All right, this is my second video, Concepts with Kimbler. And today I'm going to talk about my opinions on hard sparring. Um, this was inspired by watching a video on my break last night at work. Chael and he was talking about Jared Gordon. I got to take these off. He was talking about Jared Gordon. All right, so apparently Jared Gordon and Bobby Green, they fought, I guess, around 6 weeks ago, and they had a no contest because Jared Gordon got knocked out by a headbutt, an unintentional headbutt. And then he was booked to fight. I'm assuming this upcoming Saturday. It possibly could have been last Saturday, and I'm just now catching up with everything. But in the press conference going into this, his media is asking him stuff. He ends up saying, "I had a minor concussion, and I did everything I could to heal myself." Like, he took supplements and got in some chamber or something, did whatever he could for 6 weeks, and he took the fight on 17-day notice. When I'm hearing this from Chael, though, he's talking about Dana White coming out and pulling him, and I don't know. I had a knee-jerk reaction as to Dana White was being a jerk. So I went and watched Dana White's statement on it, or when he got asked about it. And he wasn't being a jerk. He was basically like, man, that guy should have told us that 6 weeks ago. So basically Jared filled out his paperwork or whatever to get to fight, to get a license to fight, whatever he had to do. And he lied. He didn't disclose that he had a concussion. Then he revealed it to the media. And then as soon as that was revealed, he was pulled from the card. And Dana has a right to be upset because he had to pull him, like a week within the fight and try to find someone to replace him. So I can understand all that. All that makes sense. But what came from Chael's video that I thought was really interesting was he said two brilliant things that I loved. He said back before the movie Concussion, which was an amazing movie, like that was really eye-opening to me. That changed the way I looked at football. In most MMA gyms, wearing headgear when you spar, you're looked at like a wimp. And he named a couple fighters from back in the day that would say that. And he said that movie came out. He mentioned the story of Nolan Jr. Seau. Anyone who doesn't know him, he was a legendary NFL player who he attempted suicide and failed, and then he successfully committed suicide. You'll have to know, blaming it on CTE. With all that, Chael then goes on to say he doesn't like to be at an MMA gym on sparring days where people wrap their hands. And he's like, why are you trying to wrap your hands? Who are you wanting to hit harder than I'm doing right now? No, that's like a direct quote. This is a legendary UFC fighter, much farther than most any of us are ever going to obtain in the craft of fighting. And he's speaking that. I know fighters all over who try to go hard, who think going hard is the way to win. In practice. They're trying to win practice. And that leads me to the other thing Chael said that I loved. He said back before the movie Concussion, people made the mistake of thinking going harder when you're training is somehow taking hard shots when you train is going to condition you to be able to take hard shots more consistently on the day of performance, as compared to the reality that it's actually chipping away at your ability to take hard shots. And it's such a gold statement. And if you have any doubt about it, if you're a fight fan, you know the terms glass chin and how fighters shift after they've been knocked out once. They're not the same anymore. It all freaking changes. Have you ever taken the time to think maybe the only shift isn't after the knockout? We recognize it as fans after the knockout that they can get knocked out easier. They took hits to get knocked out eventually. It led to that. It's like having a brick wall and chipping away with a hammer. And you're eventually going to break through that freaking wall. Why would you want to chip it harder? Because it's going to go away. I don't know. I see that a lot. And I want to speak on a couple personal opinions with it too. These people that go hard like that don't succeed at the high level. When I have fighters that I look up to and I look up these interviews and I try to find training sessions and just any videos I can look to pick up any little piece I can do for my own training, I don't see a whole lot of hard stuff. There's times when it's hard right before a fight or in the camp because you need to be adjusted to that speed and the adrenaline and the nerves. But these people that are going hard all the time in practice, they're making a couple mistakes. Like I was saying earlier, they're trying to win in practice. If you're going with a person and he's not going hard, and then all of a sudden you start going hard, that person then has to react to the hard. And the hard person has an advantage over that reaction, over that nerves. Because that other person's like, why is this going on now? What? That's not going to happen in the real fight, and you're falsifying yourself by doing that to someone. And I've seen that so many times. I'll see experienced fighters just pinging off on freaking newbies. Then newbies don't come back. The game doesn't grow. The sport doesn't get exposed. And you continue this falsation that people have to go hard. And then those fighters are torn up and out of the game before they're 40. It is what it is. There's this, here's another thing. If you're someone that goes hard when you spar all the time and you feel it's a badge of honor or whatever, say you go to the UFC Apex, and you run into high-end fighters in the UFC, and you go into their rounds hard. You spar with them and you go in the rounds hard and probably going to get your ass beat. You're going to come back home and you're going to tell all your friends how hard they hit and how hard they did. And it's going to build this false reality that training is hard when really it's all in your head. The most talented fighters that I have ever worked with can control themselves and go at an extremely high pace so that they can practice and not have to be deteriorated over and over and over and suffer injury after injury after injury. If you're constantly going through all of that, how are you going to have time to train? I don't know. I've always, and people that know me personally know I love to start rounds saying I go light and just have fun. And anytime there's an opportunity for me to kind of shine light on that, not just for myself to make my training more fun, but also for the growth of the sport. So more people would come out and we'd have more partners. And I see someone like Chael speaking to the same things. It just makes me feel good.